Last night we saw Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, James Wan's newest movie, and the DCU's tragic finale. Tragic in some sense, not in that it's over. I'm glad it's over, but Connor, what's the plot of Aquaman 2?
Aquaman has had a kid with Mira named Arthur Jr. And Ocean Master, his brother, he needs Ocean Master's help to find Black Manta, who became superpowered again when he found a glowing green trident. And they fight for there's an hour and a half worth of action scenes and no plot at all. And then in the end, fitting finale to DCEU, Aquaman kills a giant CGI guy with his trident, and then Ocean Master and Aquaman hug, and they say, "Nice job, buddy." And in the final scene of the DCEU, Orm eats a cockroach on accident, and he likes it. So Aiden, what did you think of Aquaman?
It's bad. It's DCU's ending on the ultimate whimper. This movie is borderline incomprehensible. It's an hour and a half of action scenes. It seems like they took a 3-hour script like the first movie, said nobody cares anymore, we just need to be done with this, cut it down to the essential hour and a half, and what you're left with is a movie that borders on nonsense, that is literally just very bad, cheap-looking action scenes strung together within minutes of the movie starting. Like, they kept the setup for the plot in where, like, Aquaman has a baby. And then after that, he just goes to Atlantis. And then Black Manta is in the Arctic and fights a giant octopus to save Randall Park, who plays high-strung, nervous, kindly Asian man, like he does in every movie, including a bunch of the Marvel ones. And then Black Manta touches the stick, and a ghost skeleton monster tree man with glowing green eyes says, "You need to collect a bunch of ancient batteries and put them in a volcano that will spew green cartoon poison gas clouds to make the earth hot so that the ice cap melts, because I'm frozen under the ice caps." And that's the plot of the movie. And the movie spends like the first 10 minutes setting up the global warming thing, where it's like, damn, it's really hot lately. And the payoff is that the humans didn't notice there was a volcano in the middle of the ocean shooting like 8 trillion tons of green cartoon monster gas into the sky. And everything else in the movie, that explains every plot beat that the movie has, more or less. Everything else is just an action scene, and it all converges at Aquaman. The green glowing skeleton man comes back to life, and Aquaman throws a spear at him, and he dies instantly in like 5 seconds after getting revived. And then for some reason Black Manta is hanging from a ledge, and Aquaman tries to save him, and then Black Manta says, "Live," and then he lets go and kills himself. I have no idea what the fuck that actually has to do with anything. It genuinely does not make sense for the Black Manta's character or anything that preceded it in the movie. And yeah, that's more or less the movie. I mean, it's borderline incomprehensible. There's almost nothing to talk about because its hour and a half runtime is roughly like an hour and 15 minutes of just straight garbo action scenes with bad CGI. It looks substantially worse than the first one. Amber Heard isn't in it very much because she was on trial when this was shot, I assume. Willem Dafoe's character is killed off screen by he gets cancer from the green monster gas off screen and dies. And
Willem Dafoe's probably like, I want a reasonable wage to show up in this terrible movie.
I think the movie was like
Spider-Man.
very slightly too short, so there's a bunch of scenes that are just slow-mo for no reason.
Right.
But like slow-mo in post, so it looks really bad.
I mean, this movie clocks in at like 100 minutes.
Yeah. And then there's also one scene that I thought was worth noting, which is there's a scene when they get to the magical ice place where the evil skeleton man is buried. And this is the second set of skeleton people, by the way, because there's also the desert skeleton people.
Right.
For some reason. But there's a scene where they're climbing the big wall.
It's kind of like when Sam Raimi made Doctor Strange, and there's like 2 Sam Raimi scenes in there, and the rest is garbage.
Yeah. There's a scene where they're climbing the wall, and the other king guy, Dolph Lundgren, gets grabbed by a tentacle monster, and he says, "Help me, Ocean Master, help me." And then Ocean Master looks at him really weird and goes behind the wall and disappears, and then he comes back out of the other side of the wall to dramatically attack the octopus instead of just attacking the octopus from where he was in the first place, which is really weird and not a very good fake out. It's very strange. This movie is everything about it feels very weird, and even the action scenes that are still in the movie kind of feel like they've also been cut in half, and you're just missing context because they make so little sense. Basically what I'm saying is, I don't know. It's a mess. I don't know what else to say about it. Connor, what'd you think of Aquaman 2?
Warner Brothers decided to end the DCEU on a comically bad Captain Planet episode with Aquaman. Is the best way to describe it. It's literally a fucking cartoon plot.
Yeah.
Like, there's very little plot, and that's kind of a disservice to cartoons, because there's some good cartoons out there. This is more like basically like if Hanna-Barbera had to make a quick episode of their animated series.
It's a Super Friends episode.
Kinda, yeah. Like
Aquaman.
They like they possibly overcorrected Aquaman to make him like edgy cool guy, like drinks a beer and. Oh, speaking of beer, there's a lot of fucking Guinness beer in this movie. Like every scene, I think they cleverly like just told Guinness beer, we'll sell a lot of beers for your dark craft beer if we make a movie about it. And Guinness molds, dude, it's gross. But yeah, no, it's fucking horrendous. Kurt just wants to be the star. But yeah, no, it's a terrible movie. It's like 90 minutes, but also it's kind of sensory overload constantly. They do a lot of fake out deaths where Black Manta shoots people and it looks like they have like terrible illness. Then they're like, Aquaman, go after him. I'll be okay. And then 2 seconds later, they're okay and unscarred by the fact that they just got maimed by a laser. Like their whole body starts on fire and they like scream and run around.
I like Django's dramatic death fake out where Django gets blasted and falls on the ground and Aquaman cries and screams over his corpse, and then the next scene he has a fucking like little breather mask on. They're like, I'll be alright, don't worry about it.
Well, they didn't even fake it out. He said, I want you to live. And then he stabs him. It's like, oh, I guess they didn't want to just kill him off. Yeah, the movie's fucking ass, dude. It sucks.
It's bad. It's bad.
Aquaman becomes the Super Friends Aquaman. Like, he becomes the joke Aquaman. He goes from, like, this, like, overly edgy 90s Aquaman, 90s era Aquaman, to, like, Super Friends Aquaman for some reason. That's just what... I mean, it's probably, like, 100% what DC did was they said... Okay, these movies are flopping in America. But the last movie made a fucking lot of money in China. So we'll just make a movie with no plot that appeals to Chinese people. I'm not saying Chinese people don't appreciate plots, but if they do, they fucking go to this shit anyways. They got nothing better to do. Because you look at like those Transformers movies, those shits were on the top of the fucking charts because China was keeping those going long after relevancy.
Yeah.
And they realized with the Transformers movies that they don't really need much of a plot, which is what makes the fourth and fifth Transformers movie so fantastic compared to the first three. And this movie does it too. There were a few James Wanisms, like he just kept putting skeleton people in there and like having people like do like weird Conjuring-esque scenes for some reason.
Yeah, there's like two or three out of place horror scenes.
I love James Wan, but this is like he's the king. He's one of the kings of cringe kino in Hollywood, and I genuinely love James Wan. But this one's fucking. This ain't it, James. I'm guessing he shot this shit because it got delayed like a whole year. It was supposed to come out like last year around this time. So my guess is it was done. It was like a 2.5 hour movie. And then James Wan just was like done with it. And then he like turned it in and Warner Brothers is like, we'll make a lot more money in China if we do this. And James Wan's like, okay. And then they cut it down to like 45 minutes and reshot a bunch of extra shit with CGI. And the CGI looks fucking terrible. The first movie actually looks pretty fucking good. Like, for no reason, the first Aquaman's, like, the best-looking DCEU movie.
Yeah.
And this movie is genuinely fucking horrible. Which actually kind of proves the mark that there isn't a single good DCEU sequel. Except The Suicide Squad. But The Suicide Squad's more of its own thing than the original.
It's pretty much just a soft reboot in continuity.
It's a soft reboot, because even Harley Quinn isn't... I mean, she's still like Harley Quinn, kind of, but... It really pulls no plot elements from the first one. It's just a reboot of Suicide Squad in continuity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it sucks. Anyways, Aiden, would you recommend Aquaman?
Fucking no. No, it doesn't make sense. The movie feels like a YouTube compilation of Aquaman 2 action scenes with all of the plot cut out, but that's how they released it in theaters.
Yep.
And maybe it'll kill in China again because it has fucking ghost skeletons and Aquaman fucking throws a spear in a ghost skeleton's face and fights a fucking octopus, but no, it sucks. It's a fucking horrible movie. It's horrendous. It's real fucking bad. Connor, would you recommend Aquaman The Lost Kingdom?
No, it sucks. It's one of the worst movies of the year, once again. Another fucking horrible movie.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, that was Aquaman.